I think last week we ended at events. Is it events or wants? We're about starting resources when we ended the class. Do we have any question from the last week one, what we did? Okay. I may not go over as I used to do. So I'm taking it from resources. Resources are what people use to reach goals, being it long term or short term. They are what we use to reach goals. And they are tools and talents with which people build their lifestyles. Resources are the tools and talents with which people build their lifestyles. Resources are also said to be the means with which people work. They are assets used to accomplish goals. They are assets used to accomplish goals. A resource is something that has a want satisfying power and is instrumental in reaching desired end. A resource is something that has a want satisfying power and is instrumental in reaching desired ends. Desired ends. The end is END. Okay. So resources are more inclusive terms that describe any possession at hand or in reserve that are available for use. So we are saying that resources are in more inclusive terms which describe any possession that we have at hand or that we have at reserve or that we have in reserve that are available for use. So whatever resource you have, being it at hand or you have saved it and is available for use, can be termed as resource or resources. Resources must be available and recognized for the potential in meeting goals. The term includes both potential and resources. Resources must be available. And if it is available, it must be recognized for the potential in meeting our goals. Families have resources and other economic assets, and therefore, when identifying resources, the term assets means not only valuable resources, but also personal qualities, traits, individual characteristics, community resources, environment, and other natural resources that can be used in meeting desirable wants. So we may be saying assets. When we say assets, We are not only trying to talk about valuable resources, but also the personal trait. Those, when I say valuable resources, resources that can be valued. They can be valued in monetary terms, but we are also referring to our personal qualities, our personal traits. You are able to probably, let me say, you are able to, this December, you could prepare cake for the family. So in that case, the family doesn't end up buying cake from anywhere, but you prepare your own cake in the family for consumption or for use during the festival or the festive season. So such quality, it's also termed as resource or as assets. The community resources that we have, they are all assets. The individual characteristics are all termed as assets. So mind you, it's not just the money or the things that we can value in monetary terms that are assets. All these traits and characteristics can also be referred to as assets. In management, we talk about resource use in daily life, and also resources that are created or developed, and the availability and limitations of these resources. Example, use of time is limited to 24 hours. Does not matter what you do if we do not utilize a particular day, it can never be retrieved. You and I know that when time is gone, it's gone. You can't retrieve time. Time can never be retrieved. And then we say that our resources are limited. Our resources are limited. So most resources that are created or developed, and their availability and limitations of all these resources, are limited to 24 hours. Money income is also limited. There is a limit to the energy that we might have, and also there is a limitation to the possession that we can have at any particular time. Sorry. There is a limit to the energy that we might have, and also there is a limitation to the possession that can have a that can have at any particular time. That we can have at any particular time. In family management, we need to understand and recognize those resources that are available, and those that we cannot recognize, not available, those we misuse, and those that are underutilized. In family management, we should take note of the things that we underutilize, and those ones that are we are overutilizing them. The goal in management is to become fully aware of the potential of resources and use them judiciously and effectively. All right. Money income is also limited. Money income is also limited. There is a limit to the energy that we might have, and also there is a limitation to the possession that we can have at any particular time. So whatever possession, whatever energy we have, they are all limited. Resources are limited. In family management, we need to understand and recognize those resources that are available and those that we cannot recognize, or not available, those we misuse and those that are underutilized. So the goal in management is to become fully aware of the potential of resources and use them judiciously and effectively. So that is a goal we have in management. It's for us to be fully aware of the potential of each of these resources and their use. When we know their use, when we recognize, when we identify them, then we'll be able to recognize its use. Hence, if using it effectively. So we have classification of resources. We have the human resources and the non-human resources. We don't have much time. I think we have done this. We did this last week. Madam Frances.
Madam,
Didn't you do this last week? Resources. You can't remember.
yes, please.
Classification of resources. We have the human resource and non-human resource. Okay, these are the human resource are the personal capabilities. We've done it. The cognitive abilities and then the psychomotor abilities, the affective ability attributes. We've done it. So I'll just run through it and then we move on.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done it. And then we have the non-human resources. The human resources where we said the cognitive abilities, the knowledge with it has to do with the knowledge, the comprehension and the analysis and application and then evaluation that one has. And then the psychomotor skills are the how the person is able to manipulate skills, use it in task performance. And then the third one being the affective attributes. That's the feelings, being happy or sad, and the attitudes that individuals have. Attitudes that individual has, like interests and motivation for work. And then the human resource, we said these are Material resources that include the consumer goods, housing, the space and facilities in the home, which are always available for use. The space we have in the home, the goods and housing available for use. In addition, are community resources that are owned and shared by the public. Example like roads, hospital, lorry parks, KVIPs, banks, community centers. What other one can we think about? Markets. Let's take note of this. Health is important in contributing energy and capacity for work output. For example, psychomotor skills. A clothes designer needs inborn skills to accomplish goals. We combine both human and non-human resources to accomplish our goals. So we need both the human and then the non-human resources to be able to accomplish our goals. So I have the knowledge. If I have the knowledge and I have the passion to become a medical doctor, there should be a medical school for me to attend. The medical school now becomes a non-human resource for me to be able to accomplish my goal, right?
Yes, madam.
So we cannot only depend on the human resource for us to accomplish our goals. For us to be able to accomplish our goals, we need to combine both the human and the non-human. Right. Resources that are within the family subsystem are easily available, and the family has more control over them. For instance, knowledge, skills, family income, family means of transportation. But those in the community and the larger environment are difficult to control, like the bank. Family means of transportation, you can control it. If you have a car that the family uses, you can control it, but you can't go and then control a bank or a school. You can't do it alone. The resources that are within the family and its subsystem are easily available, and the family has more control over them. Like your living room where you gather as a family to take decisions or to make merry. Unlike the community center, sometimes you even have to apply for it or go and see some elders in the community before you'll be allowed to use it. And then characteristics of resources. We have the utility and then the accessibility. That is one as we move on. So under the utility, we say utility of resources varies. So how you utilize your resources will be different from how I also use that resource. We all have 24 hours, right? But the utility also depends on users' knowledge and creativity in the use of resources and their potential. Affect the use of resources. The concept of utility is subjective, not be measured out precisely. Subjective out precisely. You cannot just get up and measure utility. You cannot just measure utility. We can't just say that, okay, we have 2 buckets of or 2 bowls of this. Let's look at accessibility. It has to be at hand or reserved within reach to the individuals. So wherever that resource is, it should be accessible enough to the individual. And then it should be available in quantity and quality that would be needed. Whatever amount is needed, it should be quality and quantity. You should look at its quantity and quality. And then the quantity and quality of a resource may vary from person to person, among families, and even from one person. It may vary from time to time. Sorry. Still under accessibility, interchangeability. One resource can be substituted or interchanged with another. So can we cite an instance of that where a resource can be interchanged with another? Can we cite an example? Resources have alternative uses. Alternative use, using your time to either sleep or attend lectures. Using your time to attend a friend's birthday party instead of going for lectures. Or using your lecture time to attend funerals. Substitutes, some of the substitutes that I will look at is when you have to sew a dress but have no time. So you have to give it to a seamstress or a tailor to substitute your time for money. So you have the money, but you don't have the time to do it yourself. Just as I was using the cake, baking of cake, for instance. So any of such, we can say that you've substituted your time for money or whatever for whatever. And then resources can be created or developed. Resources can be created or developed. Specifically, human resources can be developed, and the non-human resources too can be created. As one gains knowledge and develops skills, one increases its utility. As you gain more knowledge, as we train, upgrade, learn different skills, gain more knowledge, it leads to improvement and increased utility. Resources can be created from known materials things. From known material things. Manageability. To all extents, resources can be managed. To all extents. All extents, resources can be managed. Is there any question? Is there any question?
No, madam.
Okay. When we say manageability, said this has to do with appropriate allocation and application of resources to meet desired ends. Trying to use or allocate appropriately, and then apply application of resources to meet your desired ends. So using whatever resources you have well. And then transferability is transferable. Resources are transferable. For example, a teacher teaching his students is transferring knowledge to your learners. Then resources are scarce. One of the characteristics. Resources are scarce. We said from the beginning that resources are limited. They are scarce. Resources are scarce and they have a limitation or are limited in supply in terms of when and in quantity and quality. They are not easy to come by. Resources, they are not easy to come by. When we need to recognize resources, So resources are scarce and they have a limitation. They have a limitation or are limited in supply in terms of when and in quantity and then quality. And they are not easily to come by. We need to recognize resources. We need to recognize resources are in short supply. They are in short supply. And then they are not enough, for example, continuous felling of trees. Skills also improve on further use. Skills also improve on further use. They are not, resources are scarce. They are always not enough. For example, continuous felling of trees, materials, resources, energy may reduce with time. Even with time, when as a teacher, when you are teaching with time, you realize that your energy level goes down than the energy you had in starting something. You say energy may reduce with time. Skills are also improved on further use. Practice makes a man perfect. Okay. So this brings us to the end of Unit 3. Any question, any comments? Hello. Any questions? Any comments?
Please, I
No,
don't have.
madam.
Okay. Let's move on. Please a minute. I'm checking something. I'm not off. I'm here.
Okay, madam.
All right.
Okay.
Unit 4, we'll be looking at the application of the systems. That's theory to management, family management, throughput, through output, and then feedback. Throughput, what you put in, what comes out, and then feedback. Let's look at throughput. Throughput, the management process. Throughput is the transportation of matter or energy by the system. This is the transportation. This is the transportation of matter or energy by the system from input to output in the management system. Activities that answer questions of how, how much, how good, when and where the actual processes occur. Activities that answer or answers those questions. How much, how good, when, and all right. Exchange. Exchange. The people can directly exchange goods and services as in the barter system or use money as a form of exchange. Let's look at exchange. Then consumption, protection, and transfer. We'll look at them one after the other. And people can directly exchange goods and services as in the barter system. See, maybe you have, we all know the barter system. Where you have something I don't have, then we exchange it. I give you, I give you maybe rice in exchange for say maize, or I give you maize in exchange for fish. So you don't give me money in exchange per se, but you give me maybe food or something equivalent, almost equivalent to whatever you have given me. And then consumption, this has to do with direct use, the direct use and waste of resources that occur. So anytime we use a resource, its value depletes. Its value is no more the same. You have a car as a family, you have a family car that you have been using, or you bought it, say December. Once you are using it, its value depletes. It's no more the car you have bought. Its value depletes. Then protection. It involves incurring costs to preserve the overall worth of resource inventory. That's protection. So transfer, you see how transfer under throughputs. So transfer occurs in lending resources, as in giving gifts of kind. being it money, possessions, or anything, that's transfer. You have a land, a piece of land, you decided to give half of it or half plot to a brother or a sister. That's transfer. You want to give it to him or her, maybe to use for a while. You want a place to place his or her container. And you allow her to use that space. At that moment, you've transferred resource to her. And we also look at the production of existing resources. So producing is the addition of wealth to the existing resources. So these are intended to increase the overall worth of resource inventory. So far, is there any question? Is there any question?
No, madam.
The managerial systems involve planning the use of resources and then implementing it. So just as in a managerial system of any institution, it involves planning, and then the use of resources, being it human or non-human resources, and then putting these plans into action. And that is implementing or implementation. The overall effectiveness of the management system can be obtained by comparing the output with the inputs, so effectiveness is judged. So the two main activities are planning and implementing. And as we move on, we'll look at each of these main activities one by one. When we take planning is the first activity in the throughput stage. In this stage, planning is the first thing. It is a way of diversing a proposal He said the planning is a first stage and it is a way of diversing a proposal to each goals. Planning involves establishing priorities among goals. Planning, it involves establishing priorities among goals. Things that are very important to you among your goals. And then clarifying through the development of standards. Clarifying through the development of standards to measure goal attainment and sequencing activities needed to reach goals. Or in planning, it's a series of decisions, standards, and or sequence of actions. So planning is a series of decisions concerning future standards, and or for sequence of actions. Components of planning. Components of planning. As we said earlier, we'll be developing of standards, then goal clarification or prioritization. Components of planning. And the goal clarification or prioritization, they are the indication of goals deemed critical or very important. This make planning purposeful. An indication of goals that is deemed critical or very much important. And these make planning purposeful. Planning actually guide the persons or the group. Planning guides the people involved or the group decision about what, how, when, why activities are to be done. So when you plan, it helps, it serves as a guide. It helps you to know when you are doing something, how to do it, when to do it, etc. So planning is a guide. So they guide the persons or group. Planning provide direction for resources that would be used for implementing the plans. We need to be intentional. They provide direction, planning provide direction for resources that would be used for the implementing of plans. Plan, let's say to bake to prepare maybe queen's cake, right? You have to get the resources. You should have your cake tin, you should have an oven, and then the ingredients that you'll be using. And you put all those things together, that's what you are going to use. So that's what you are going to, you know, apply action or implement, put those things into work. You have to do your creaming. Or if you are doing rubbing in, you have to do your rubbing in, before you be able to implement. You put all these together to be able to achieve your goal, achieve your goal for your queen's cake. Or you want to go to school, you want to further your education, you have to save something, some money. After saving, you have to be vigilant and know when they are selling forms. Buy your form, apply. So many things go into it before you'll be able to attain your goal of upgrading, or your goal for further studies. Developing standards. The second component of planning is developing standards. Standards are measured for goal attainment. Standards, they are measures for goal attainment. And they define how to meet the goals and results that are expected. Standard, it helps you to define how to meet your goals. Your goal for sewing a wedding gown, okay? This standards, what standard of wedding gown do you intend to sew? Someone will say, your gown, mu gown. So which one? What's your standard? You can decide to use just, let's say, 500 to probably, you can still sew a gown with 500, right? But someone can also decide to use 5,000 to sew a gown. Likewise, someone can also use, should I say 10,000 to equally sew a gown. So that's why when you even go to the market, you realize that we have a gown, we have it, in different, should I say, range, different prices, price ranges, price range, okay? So in this case, we are saying when you have your standards. You know, when you have your standard, it helps you to meet your goals, or it defines how to meet your goals and results that are expected. They also describe the quantity and quality of the desired results. Standards also helps to describe the quantity. So if you want the lower, let's say anything, just anything, you can use that 1,000 to probably get about 10 of the gowns to to sell. Or you can equally use that 5,000 to just sew one. That determines the standard of gown you are going to sew for sale. Okay. Still on components of planning, we have sequencing activities. This is the ordering of parts of an activity. When we say sequencing of activities, it's like you have written them or you have them in some order, or they appear in some order. They will move in some orderly manner. That you know that this one first or the other one. My people, we have been quiet since. Am I here alone?
Yes.
No,
No, madam,
madam.
you are not alone.
No, please.
We are also not helping. I asked where we got to. Even here alone tells me that last week we did all this last week, but we've been quiet as if we are now doing it. Yes, last week we did dovetailing and then this overlapping and clustering activities, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And so sometimes if we are also not able to prompt me that, because then I ask, where have we gotten to? All right. So under the sequencing of activity, that's where we have the dovetailing, and then dovetailing, overlapping, and then clustering activities, which we have already looked at. So the next component is a resource identification or assessment. Resource identification and assessment, sorry. So resources must be ready when they are needed. Resources must always be ready when they are needed. Hence, they must be identified or assessed so that the quantities and qualities will be known ahead of time. So you know this is what you want to do. So the resources needed to do that, you should be able to identify them and then assess them. This gives room to assemble or procure resources if results of the assessment suggest so. when we are able to identify ahead of that is if the again, let's look at the factors that contribute to planning. What are some of the factors that contribute to planning? Time orientation is one of such factors. Time orientation, demographic characteristics, time orientation, foresight, internal and external control. The demographic characteristics, it includes age, stage of the family, life cycle, the demographics, experience for one to know what to do and where to start from. Age gives experience for one to know what to do and where to start from. How can your age help you in planning? How can one's age be a contributing factor to your planning? It's about the question. Hello, why are we sleeping?
Hello, madam.
Madam.
And then how can your age be a contributing factor to planning or to your planning? Age gives experience. Okay, the experience that a 40-year-old, should I say, 40-year-old person may have, it will not be the same as a 20 or a 22-year-old lady will have. You say age gives experience for one to know what to do and where to start from. You see, that is why maybe it's rare for you to see, basically, I think most people start working at the age of, say, 25 that way. Most people, right? At that time,
Okay.
it's not it's rare for you to hear the person even thinking about retirement. But as the years goes by, that same person, let the person get to like 40, the person will start thinking about his or her retirement, and maybe will start planning towards it. So age gives experience for one to know what to do and where to start from. It also enables us to see the alternative resources that are available and helps people to know to take realistic decisions. With age, it will help you to take realistic decisions. What important, you realize that those things, or the experiences you have now is able to guide you to know what to do better or how to do it better than before. That is different needs and different demands are made by families at each stage of the cycle. So the family life cycle, at the family life cycle, different needs and different demands are made by the family at each stage of the cycle. So the need at the beginning stage will be different from the need of the family, say, at the last stage of the family life cycle. And what is the first stage of the family life cycle? What is the first stage?
Then the beginning stage.
The second stage is what?
Expanding stage.
Okay. So the next one is still under the demographic characteristics, we have experience. We have experience. Experience and the life cycle are interrelated. They are interrelated because the decisions made depend on our experiences. The decisions we make or the decisions made depends upon our experiences. The decisions we make at every stage depends on our experiences in life. So we say they are interrelated. Knowledge. The next one is knowledge, still under demographic characteristics. Knowledge. Knowledge about certain things helps one to see through alternatives and also to select resources to meet goals. Knowledge about certain things It helps one to see through the available alternatives and then also to select the best resources to use to meet your goals. Just as I was talking about sewing a wedding gown, there are so many fabric. Last time I watched something, I think on social media, where they used like the Nigerian would say Ankara to sew a beautiful outfit which was like a gown, okay, and then with a eight matching suits for the man or the groom. So there are so many fabrics. So there are so many resources. That is, if you want to sew, let's say you are sewing to sell, one may also decide to use bridal satin. And the bridal satin too, we have it in beads. I know my sewing people. Are you there? My clothing and textile people. I hope we have clothing and textile people here. Hello. Hello.
Hi, madam.
Hello, madam.
Mhm.
Education helps to acquire and improve skills. Yes, you already have the passion for sewing, but then with education, it may improve on whatever skills you already have, or it will improve the skill of what the learner already have. You already have the passion to do something, but with studies or with education, you may be able to do it maybe more faster or better. You will gain more. You can improve on whatever skill you already have through education. So we move on to the second factor. Which is time orientation. The time orientation deals with how we use ourselves in relation to time. How we use ourselves in relation to time. For example, if you see time as now, everything you do would be towards satisfying now. NOW, now. Now. So whatever you do will be to satisfy your your now. If you always see time like it's always inadequate, you want to do whatever you want to do it fast, no procrastination, you know. So everyone and how we see time. The third one is foresight. The third factor is foresight. Having foresight is looking for future events and the awareness of the possible things that could happen in future. That's anticipation of the future life. There are two facets of foresight. We have the perceptual foresight and then the conceptual foresight. So the perceptual foresight said this is the ability to project the future from the present situation in order to explore alternatives and select effective ways of solving problems. The perceptual is like you perceive the future, that it will be like this, and then you do things in order to explore the alternatives and select effective ways of solving issues. And the conceptual foresight, this relates to the anticipated situation and the consequences of the problems, that is looking into the future and turning events for the future. We should take notes and then take note of the differences about the conceptual foresight and then the perceptual foresight. I said the conceptual foresight relates more to the anticipated situation and the consequences of the problems, that is looking into the future and turning events for the future. The fourth contributing factor to planning is internal and external control. External and internal control. And this relates to how people see the effects of their actions on them. With internal control, one is able to control what happens within. So those with external control perceive events, or those with external control, they will perceive events as being unrelated to their own actions because of complex forces at work, which are beyond their own personal control. So those with external control perceive events as being unrelated to their own actions. They don't see it to be related to their own actions. They see it to be related to other or external control because of complex forces at work, which are beyond their own personal control. So types of plan. We have the single-use plan and then the repeat-use plan. The single-use plan, they are used only once for single situations. They are mostly made to serve a special need. They can be adopted and used for similar needs, but they often involve detailed standards and sequence due to the nature of it. So an example of single-use plan is what? Loretta. Madam Loretta.
Please mute yourself.
Sorry.
Don't worry. I'm asking you a question as an example of single-use plan. Madam Loretta.
Yes, madam.
Example of single-use plan
Hello.
is what? Hello, I can hear you.
Okay, madam. Madam, please, I'll come in.
You are coming. Where are you going to? Anyone to help us? Example of single-use plan. They are used only once for single situations.
Okay.
We are so much familiar with it, with them.
Please, yes, madam. Madam, please, can you say wedding plan?
Why can we say wedding plan?
Because you will do it once in your lifetime.
Okay, thank you very much. So wedding plans can be one of such single-use plan. Can someone also think about something else? A different thing?
Madam, if wedding plan, then I think that plan too is part.
Dead plan, Apa. Funeral plans, not dead plan, I beg you. So, example of those single-use plan can be wedding plan, funeral plans. What other thing? The naming ceremony of a child. You won't give birth to that child again, right?
Sure.
Hey, who is there always saying sure? Also, you to say Samla.
Madam, it's me who have been talking. It's Frances. So.
You. I hear. So if single-use plan example is wedding, just as we have mentioned, then repeated use plan example will be what?
Madam, education.
Education.
Yeah.
Can you convince me?
Like since we've started school, we got to some point, then we started again. So it doesn't end. You continue, continue. You can break, then you come back.
So let's listen to its explanation, and if education is part, we all know.
Madam,
So
how about house chores?
these are plans which are developed to be used repeatedly. They are plans, sorry, that we develop to be used repeatedly or over and over again, weekly, monthly, or daily. Here, resources are known and sequence are known. So over here, the resources are known and then the sequences are also known. So in education, what are the resources and what are the sequences? Let's not complicate issues, okay? We are saying that these are plans which are developed to be used repeatedly over and over again. It could be weekly, it could be monthly or daily. Okay, take your daily roster plan, for instance. Let's say you are cleaning your house. You do it daily, right? You do it daily, but every day and what you normally even do. If today maybe you swept and you mop, maybe tomorrow you may not sweep and mop, right? Am I
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So you see, so we do it repeatedly. You may decide to be mopping on maybe every every 2 days or every 3 days or weekly, whichever way you do it, but they are repeated. What we should take notice, they are repeated over and over again. Or you plan for repairing a car. You plan to repair your car, maybe periodical, maybe every 2 months, say every month, or every 3 months, every 6 months, whichever way. Please, are we clear?
Yes,
Yes.
madam.
Is there
Yes,
anything
madam.
you don't understand? Any question?
Please, madam, can we also say meal plans, the meals that we normally prepare for our children?
Okay. We plan, do you plan weekly or you plan daily? Do you plan it
Madam,
daily? Mm,
weekly,
Please.
but it's on
mm,
daily basis.
okay. So that could also be an example. It's not a one-time something. Every day we eat in our houses. All right. So we are still looking at the types of plan. We have the directional plan, the goal-oriented plan, and then the contingency plan. So as we move on, we'll look at each and every one of them. So the directional plan, we said this is the general plan for living, which relates to career plans and life goals. That's a directional plan. It relates to the general plan. That's the general plan for our living, which relates to our career plans, and then life goals. Probably what we are doing could be part of our directional plan, right?
Yes.
Then we also have the goal-oriented plan, the style of planning where clear goals are known and worked towards in an efficient step-by-step way without any deviation. The goal-oriented plan, the style of planning where clear goals are known and worked towards in an efficient step-by-step way without any deviation. Your goal is for promotion, right? After here, that you use this certificate to apply for an upgrade. Is that not it? So you have a specific goal that you are working at or you are working towards, and you are taking in an efficient step-by-step maybe way or whatever to achieve it. In achieving it, step-by-step would also mean that you know that to get this certificate, you need to write quizzes, you need to write exams, you need to attend lectures, all these are the step-by-step should I say work you work toward things you do to attain that goal. Again, let's look at the contingency plan. With the contingency, these specify alternatives, standards, and sequence of actions for indefinite conditions. I take it again. These specify alternatives, standards, and sequence of actions for indefinite conditions. These specify alternative standards and sequence of actions for indefinite conditions. And then thinking of alternatives for emergencies. Thinking of emergency. Thinking of alternatives for emergency. And therefore, changing sequences, that is, plans that are made for emergencies or situations and not being able to follow the normal sequence of actions. So assuming you have applied for or you are doing this program, and for you, maybe you know that maybe in a year or two time, you would have graduated, but there was an emergency which made you to probably, let me say, to defer the program or defer the course. Okay, so it's just an instance, please. So at the end of the day, maybe you are not able or you were not able to graduate with your colleagues, but still you came back to continue to complete the program. Did you get what I'm saying? So when we talk about contingency, you should bear in mind that there is an emergency somewhere, or you should think of emergency. All right. Characteristics of planning process. Characteristics of planning process. We have the morphostatic plans. The morphostatic plans. This means there are rigid or unchangeable standards. There are things that we cannot change when we take the plan. They do not change. That is, whatever is planned for is adhered to. So any change along the way may mean, will bring maybe disaster. So we are rigid with the standards. So these are characterized by unchanging goals and little opportunity for expansion of resources. So routines are clearly established and visibility is very low. Can we think of any of such plans? Or I should talk further on it before we'll be able to figure out.
Madam, please, like if I take a normal school, for instance, we doing our work, that is teaching. Like we know that weekends we don't go to school. The exception that like classes, but normal school, you can't say that, oh, maybe Monday I can't go to school, so I'll go to mine on Saturday. No. The times that we go to school is rigid, it's unchangeable, unless maybe something that is for everyone. But apart from that, you the personality, you can't change the routine.
Okay. Let's say you have planned to prepare rich cake. Okay. These things have they normally have some measurements and of the quantity of ingredients you follow, and it's rigid. When you don't get it like that, you should know that then you are going to be doing something else. Okay, rich cake, you have to take equal measurements of your ingredients. Is that not it? The food and nutrition students.
It is.
So in case you don't get it like that, if you are not able, assuming maybe your flour is more is far more than the quantity you are supposed to take. If you are not careful, you will be baking rockies instead of rich cake. Or you may be preparing some cookies apart from rich cake. So in this case, we realize that the plans you follow or the steps you follow are rigid, they are static. You can't change it. You cannot change it in any way. You have to adhere to it in order to get the results you intend to get. So morphostatic. So in the morphostatic plan, they say new demands may be tolerated if only resources are readily available. Old goals are maintained rather than seeking new ones. We will look at the advantages and disadvantages. So over here, you don't waste resources. Resources are not wasted at all. Activities occur on time. After your creaming, you know what to follow. You don't waste time. You follow, so there are no waste and there are no waste of um or activities occur right on time. The time after mixing everything, you should go into the oven. You don't delay, you know and you look at the time you put it inside, the time you give it when it will be ready to take it off from the oven. All these things. And you don't end up wasting resources too. No new decisions are taken, leading to security and structure or stability. It's not there that you'll be thinking, can I add honey to it, or can I add this? No, you know the quantity of the thing. You know the ingredients that you already needed. Do you get it? And disadvantages, it limits looking for new alternatives in terms of resources, standards, and goals. It limits looking for new alternatives in terms of resources, standards, and goals sets. So under the characteristics of planning process, under the morphogenic, okay, now under morphogenic, we said there is visibility in standards. There is visibility in standards, sequences of action, and use of resources. And planning in this open system produces visible and single-use plans. Planning in this open system planning in this open system produces visible and single-use plans, as well as non-routine and non-programmed activities. The new goals are readily evaluated and accepted if appropriate. And then there is vigorous thinking and expansion of resources. Such plans are highly visible. Decision making here is decentralized. There is vigorous thinking and expansion of resources. So such plans are highly visible. Such plans are highly flexible. Decision making here is decentralized. Ah, just as I was citing the example. He said, example is one plans to bake a sponge cake for a party, and in the process the mixture becomes faulty as a result of incorrect measurements. So you plan to make cookies instead. This action qualifies the plan to be morphogenic. Morphogenic. All right. So still under morphogenic, it says resources may be wasted if you are not a person who makes morphogenic plans. So look at the advantage and disadvantages. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages. One of its advantages is that it allows one to re-examine goals and set new ones. It gives room for one to re-examine goals and then set new ones. And then it allows one to deal with emergencies. It gives you room to deal with emergencies. And then the disadvantages, it's waste time. It wastes time. It wastes time. Making decision become a problem because new ones are to be considered. Making decisions become a problem because new ones are to be considered. After which we have random, still under the characteristics of planning process. We have random. This happens to change things at the spur of the moment. In other words, it helps one think quickly to take new decisions. So, advantages, it deals with situations as they occur. It is spontaneous in the use of resources to deal with important goals. And then it allows for creativity. It allows for creativity. It may lead, the disadvantages, it may lead to mislocation or misappropriation of resources. And thus, important goals may be left out. The disadvantages, he said it may lead to misallocation or misappropriation of resources, and thus important goals may be left out. Any question, any contribution, any comments? Any question? Any question?
No, madam.
Please, when are we going for break?
Madam, please, it has passed. We are supposed to go for break at 1 o'clock. But it's now 2 o'clock, 2:09 or so.
Wow. Please, when do we end the class?
4 o'clock.
Okay. So can we take some few minutes break and come back?
Okay,
Since
please,
I know
madam.
some people may be
Before to
tired or
come back.
something. Let's make it 10 minutes, okay?
10
Those
minutes.
who want to, yes, or
Okay. Okay.
because even our coming back to is another thing. Please, let's do well and come early, okay?
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Oh, where are they? Or time is not up. But it's not yet time. I think we don't have much time on our side because we agreed that it's 10 minutes. Or and now we have used 13 minutes.
Madam, please, you can continue.
All right. So before we left, we're looking at planning. Now let's look at the attributes of planning. Thank you. One of the attributes of planning is clarity. When you plan, you must be clear. You must be specific with your standards. So clarity. The next one is complexity. Clarity, complexity, flexibility, and then reality. All right, clarity, it means that both specific standards and sequences have been clarified. It means that both specific standards and sequences have been clarified. And then specific goals are important when goals are critical, when goals and resources are limited, and when little previous experiences or knowledge are limited to meet goals. Specific goals are important when goals are critical, when goals and resources are limited, and when little previous experiences or knowledge are limited to meet goals. So we are looking at clarity. So goals and standards must be specified, especially when someone is going to implement the plans. Assuming you have made a plan, but you are not going to be the implementer. The goals and standards must be specified, especially when someone is going to implement the plan. Just to say that if you are not the one going to be the one, if you are not going to be the one to implement the goals, then ensure that your goals and standards are specified. And if there are more people involved in implementing the plan, then goals, standards, sequences, and resources must be stated for easy work. So it will be better to write them down, okay, for whoever will be implementing, to be looking on it or be referring to it while they implement or while they see to it that the goal is achieved. So you need to write it down. We mostly have our plans in mind. But the best is to write it down. Even the Christians among us can attest to it. When God told one of the prophets in the Bible to write them down on a tablet, was it Moses? And that was a good the 10 commandments we have now. Okay. If there are more people involved, I think we've looked at that. Now let's look at the complexity. This involves the number of people and goals involved in a plan. A complex plan involves more than one person. A complex plan involves more than one person. The degree of interrelation between people and tasks determines the complexity of a plan. The degree of interrelation between people and tasks determines the complexity of a plan. You see, if one is part of the plan, it will not be implementing. It will not be as difficult as when someone plan and write it for you to follow. That's why when you observe, you realize that most especially, let me use this since we are teachers, let me use this. Mostly like private schools. You realize that the moment the proprietor of the school dies, if you are not careful, the school collapses. That is most especially when the proprietor did not involve maybe his or her children in the planning. It's just like maybe a business. When your children are not part of the planning, for instance, and you are no more, that ends it. All your sweat and everything goes down the drain. So a complex plan involves more than one person or must involve more than one person. The degree of interrelation between people and tasks determines the complexity of a plan. Then the number of people involved in the plan and the relationship of the people are for instance, husband, wife, parent, child. Yeah. So the number of people involved in the plan and the relationship of the people. For instance, husband, wife, parent, child. And the scope and importance of and the adequacy of resources are all affect the complexity of the plan. It involves different people, goals, expectations, and standards, and so makes that all this makes planning completed. It involves different people, different goals, different expectations, and different standards, and so it makes planning completed and makes planning completed. This is because determining who does what at what time makes goal achievement difficult. So a simple plan is a plan that involves only one person. So in this case, we say that a simple plan is a plan that involves just one person. So when you are talking about complex plan, then it means involves so many people, different expectations, different resources. Then let's look at the next attribute being flexibility. Flexibility. This is achieved through the development of ranges of acceptable performance standards and varying sequences. That's to what extent one is prepared to accept or modify changes in plans in terms of quality and quantity. To what extent one is prepared to accept or modify changes in plans in terms of quality and quantity. So flexibility also refers to some part of the plan which is fluid in nature. It is one in which the parts can be arranged in any order. When you say something is flexible, it's like the opposite of complex. It may also be related to people, for example, accepting someone with less skill and knowledge to perform a task for you. So flexibility can also relate to resources. You know very well that the person has maybe no knowledge at all in no knowledge. Let's say maybe you are, let me take for instance, you are a food and nutrition teacher, okay, and you've engaged your students who have less knowledge compared to you to help you maybe do something, to perform a task, being it the sewing or maybe food preparation. You engage them to do something. And then we have the reality. Reality. If plans are achievable, they must be feasible and realistic. They must be realistic in terms of standards set and also in terms of resources. Goal set and sequences in which activity must be carried out. So, for instance, if one earns 800 Ghana cedis, he or she cannot make a budget for 1,000. I think it's clear.
Yes, please.
You can't be making budgets for 1,000 when you know very well that your salary is just 800. Any question, any comment, any suggestion? Any comments, any question, any suggestion? Let's look at implementation. Once plans are made, they lead to implementation. And this is putting the plans into action. So there are two main activities that take place here under the implementation. We have the actuation and then controlling. So under the actuation or activation, we say putting plans in effect when there is a high goal intensity or when the intended plan or goal is important to the people involved. So putting plans in effective when there is high goal intensity or when the intended plan or goal is very important to the people involved. When you say implementation or activation, I'm also trying to say that carrying out a plan when a plan is clear, is visible, and when resources are sufficient to needs. And it refers to making things happen and working with a plan and making it realistic until you have actually carried out a plan. We cannot achieve a goal. So not until we have actually carried out a plan, one cannot achieve your goal. Factors that motivate implementation. Factors that motivate implementation. 1. When the plan is clear and visible. Yes, class. I've given 1. Factors that motivate implementation.
Madam, please, the nature of the plan.
The nature of the plan. Or the nature of the task.
Yeah.
Madam, the
nature of the
availability
task.
of resources.
Whether it's complex or simple, as we learned earlier. Whether it's complex or simple.
Madam, the availability of resources and if sufficiency.
Resources availability. Okay. Whether it will be sufficient. Yes, any other. Please, any other.
How boring or interesting the plan is.
Okay.
Hello, madam.
Hey, we have someone also called Yakubu. I've never heard of it before. Please don't keep quiet. Talk.
Please,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the Tamale. So I've turned to. So could we also say the feasibility of the plan?
Please come again.
I was saying, can we also say that the feasibility of the plan?
The visibility of the plan.
Feasibility.
Visibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. That's what I was saying. That when the plan is realistic, clear, and visible. So we can say that.
Okay, thank you.
But how come? Today is the first time I'm hearing from you.
I
Are you
was
been joining?
so I just decided to join here.
You are not part of us, eh?
Yes, I'm from Tamale.
And I'm saying, are you part of us?
No, I'm from Tamale. I'm from Tamale Buru.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other factor? Inner motivation. Feelings that individuals have towards activities. Inner motivation. Okay. Then we'll look at organization. So that the implementation. Organization comes in when implementing activities which involve a lot of people. The organization will come in when we have to implement activities which will involve so many people. You have to organize them, organize the resources also, and so on and so on and so forth. So if someone is in charge, we have to identify who does what, at what time, in what order, you know. And then part of organization is assigning responsibilities and resources to people so that resources are used judiciously. There will not be any waste. And activities rescheduled to achieve goals at the appropriate time. So there will not be any waste when these are followed. We have coordination and supervision. So coordination, if several people are doing it, check to see whether they are doing the right thing. Check to see if they are doing the right thing. You've asked some students to do training. From time to time, you have to check whether they are doing the right thing, or you've asked them to do some to stitch. From time to time, you have to check whether they are doing the right thing. That's why you realize that from time to time, they bring the work to you for you to check whether they are in the right direction. And then there should be collaboration between those performing the activity. When they fail to collaborate, there should be collaboration between those performing the activity. When they fail to collaborate, there is fragmentation, there is fragmentation, and then that does not help in achieving goals. When they fail to do so, there will be, let me say, fragments, like edwuma no mu bɛkyɛ, kind of. So at the end of the day, your goals may not be achieved. And then supervision. Supervision is to ensure that resources are being used effectively or standards are being met. And then you make sure that the resources are being used for the purposes for which they were intended for. Any question? Okay. So under implementation, here we have controlling. After the activation, we have controlling. And controlling involves actions that will ensure that end results are positive and goals are achieved. It involves two activities, that's checking and adjusting. So at the implementation stage, where you have to be controlling, you have to be checking at the same time adjusting. This is the comparison of plan. This is the comparison of plans to action in terms of standard and sequence, which serve as the basis of evaluation. Okay, so checking on action and outcomes is needed to ensure the progress towards reaching a goal or desired end. Or compliance with standards and sequence. So you have to do checking, or you have to be checking to ensure that maybe they are complying with is it hygienic standards? They are complying with whatever instruction is there for them to comply with. And then checking may also be against quality and quality. So you check to also ensure that quality and quantity is assured. Checking, and still under checking, he said if you check and the outcome does not meet the standard set, you go back and adjust. So whatever plan you have checked, and then things are not being done the way they are supposed to, they are not following the step-by-step guidelines, then you go back and adjust. And then checking may be carried out by the planner or the person executing the plan or work. So if you are the planner and there is someone you have put in charge to execute the plan or do the work, from time to time, he or she has to go back, check, and then adjust where it's necessary. Sufficient checking ensures the meeting of the desired standard, and sequences can improve implementations. Too frequent checks can create resentment by the person carrying out the plan. So even though you have to do it, but you have to do it in moderately, so that whoever is carrying out the plan will not show any form of resentment. And then the next one is adjusting. We said under the controlling, we'll do checking and adjusting. So we are adjusting. So this may occur after checking has identified deviation from plan behavior. So when you checked, you realize some deviations. So this is where you adjust. Adjusting means making changes based on the present state of the task and feedback into the system. So we realize that there have been some deviations. That was not the intended plan. So therefore, you adjust to ensure that the right thing is done, or what is stated to be carried out is what is being done. It may involve changing the anticipated standards to meet the sequence of the design. So as I was using the cake, for instance, as an example, you can't use some mixtures to prepare certain things, but some of them can be. So I was saying that, like, you want to prepare rich cake and then the mixture didn't go well, assuming maybe you added more flour to your mixture. So in this case, it is very hard. Then one can decide to use it for maybe rockies or rock cake, right? Or some other cookies. Any question? All right. Let's look at output. Output. Output is the end result of actions. The end result of actions. It is the outcome of managerial processes. Output is the end result or the outputs, or the outcome of managerial processes. It comes in the form of finished products, met demands, used resources, and leftover and waste. So for you to say that this is an output, that's where you see all these forms. It could be a finished product or a met demand. Demand has been met, or the resources has been used, or there is a leftover of resources, or there is waste. All this is as a result of an output. And then outputs follow the internal environment of the system or to the external environment beyond the boundaries of the management system. Output is an outcome of throughput. Output is an outcome of throughput. So when inputs as demands are satisfied, when inputs as demands are satisfied, it tells how far we are from our goals. It tells you how far we are from our goals. Our goals and standards. The accomplished goal is the outcome. The accomplished goal is the output, and then also the level of satisfaction associated with a goal. So whatever goal you have accomplished is the output, and then the level of satisfaction associated with the goal. And in family management, one gains satisfaction when one puts in effort and resources to carry out a task and at the end attain goals. So in family management, you gain satisfaction when you put in effort and then resources to carry out a task, a particular task, and at the end of the day, you attain a goal. On the other hand, if goals are not achieved and we feel dissatisfied, we have to check along the line what went wrong. So assuming we were unable to achieve our desired goals, you have to go back and check what happened and then or what really went wrong along the line. So that's that on output. Let's look at feedback. Feedback. Feedback is the output influences. The output influences systems outside the family as well as the family itself. So feedback is a portion of output returned to input and managerial system for modification of future action. So feedback is the reprocessing of the output. So when output is being reprocessed, that is what we'll term as feedback. You have negative feedback. negative or positive feedback. So negative feedback, the feedback is negative when the information or reaction about the output induces deviation from plans, goals, and standards. So the information is used to maintain equilibrium in the system or to limit overall changes. And if found that the deviation is not too much, that is, the changes are narrow in range or scope of changes is small, then the deviation or change will be allowed as there may be no need to meet standards, sequence, or change resources. So for example, is the plan for EVT112, this course, right? Face-to-face sessions was to have an open forum with students for just one lecture, slot, okay? In order to clear any misunderstandings students may have about any aspect of the course content, and invariably deepen understanding from reflection on content already taught. However, information from 2020 sandwich learners, that's a negative feedback about the online teaching of this same course, is that some students had major network challenges, hence need recap of content rather than an open forum for clarification. So that caused me to modify the lesson plan and to shift my goal of ensuring understanding from reflective practice to summarizing and presenting content logically as a means of yielding understanding. So my deviation from the original plan was not too much, so I effected the changes to ensure that students learned what they were supposed to without causing anxiety on students' parts. So that's a typical example of what we have been discussing. And we also have the positive feedback. Positive feedback, it accepts deviation, but it's not the opposite of negative feedback. It accepts deviation, but it is not the opposite of negative feedback. So we should take note of that. It favors deviation when there are differences between expected and actual outcomes. Over here, we said negative feedback makes sure that you do not deviate too much from the original intents or targets, as its key feature is its quest to maintain focus on your action. So in other words, the negative feedback is most often associated with restoring stability or resistance to change. So take note that it's not opposite. But the positive feedback accepts deviation. and it favors deviation when there are differences between expected and actual outcomes. Changes are expected, including the adoption of new goals or new procedures. Note that, note, however, that negative feedback does not necessarily adhere to predetermined goals and standards. If my reaction to finding out that the student performed poorly on an EVT112 quiz was to use the face-to-face sessions to reteach the concepts, then that would have been positive feedback. So from the example I read earlier, if say if the reaction or my reaction to finding out that students performed poorly during the quiz, then that means that using the face-to-face session to reteach the concept then would have been a positive feedback. Again, positive feedback accepts changes in goals and standards and has morphogenic characteristics that allow for deviation. Okay, and it may consider recent actions and may disrupt equilibrium or managerial process. Please, a minute. I want to pick a call. Sorry about that. Needed to pick. Okay. So again, we need to look at the importance of feedback. How necessary is feedback? Sorry. It enables correction of the deviation to maintain the system in the desired state. Feedback is necessary to enable correction of the deviation to maintain the system in the desired state. Any other contribution? The importance of feedback. Any other contribution? What do you think could be the importance of
Madam,
feedback?
please, it helps us to make adjustments.
It helps to make
It helps us to make adjustments.
adjustments. Okay. So adjusting, can you explain further? Okay.
For instance, like at the end of the program, the outcome that you were expecting, it couldn't go, or that plan couldn't go through, then
Your
you
line
sit
is
down and go and
breaking. Your line is breaking, Papa. Any other person? Yes, Madam Barbara.
Please, it also helps to determine whether the plans are going on well.
Okay. So through
Madam,
feedback, you are able to know whether the plans you have set are moving on accordingly. Okay. Yes.
yes.
Madam,
Yes, Madam Sally.
please, can you also say that the feedback will determine the output, the results you're going to get in the output? Can you say like that?
Please come again.
I'm saying that to get a feedback, can you say the feedback will determine the output? Sorry, the output will determine the feedback. I don't know whether I'm making sense. Sorry. I'm saying that the feedback, the output that you're going to get after putting in the inputs and the outputs, I don't know, the output that you're going to get will determine the feedback, whether it's going to be good or negative. I don't know whether I'm correct.
If you remember earlier, we said something that where we were trying to differentiate between the output and then feedback. Okay.
Yes,
We're
please.
saying that feedback is like reprocessing of the output. So I don't know whether you are getting me, or because I'm not really getting what you were saying, but I remember that we said the feedback, when we say feedback, is like we are reprocessing the output that we had. The output we had, we are reprocessing it. And that is what we term as a feedback. So you can please you can ask your question again. Let me see.
Madam, in the slides, the reason why I'm saying that is that in the slide, it says feedback is a portion of the output return. That's the reason I'm asking that.
You said it says that it's a portion of
output return.
Okay.
So I was just making a statement that, can you say that to get a good feedback, it depends on the output?
On your output. Sure.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, madam.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, we are still looking at the importance. Again, we can also say that returns to the system can affect latter transformation process or output. So just as our sister was just saying, see, the returns to the system can affect our latter transformation process or our output. So if our output is not the best, then it means that we have to go back to the drawing board. And then it improves the process. One of the importance is that it improves the process or the outcome by helping to assess managerial activity to determine whether goals have been achieved or not. So feedback helps to improve the process. Feedback also helps. Sorry, I'm just repeating what I just said. Sorry. So in addition to all that we have said, feedback is important in order to indicate whether our actions are going well according to the plan. Feedbacks are very much important. Thank you. Please, do we have any questions? Akubo, are you riding or what? Kindly mute your mic. Please, any question or comments?
Please, ma.
Yes, sir.
Please, can you say feedback help you to evaluate your plans and goals in order to determine its weakness and strength? Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I said,
Kindly position yourself well. I can't hear you.
I'm saying, hello. SMO. Hello.
Please, we can hear you.
I was saying,
You are on
the,
it. Talk, please.
the feedback we are talking about, the importance. Can you say it help us to evaluate our goals and plans in order to determine its weakness and strength? Hello, ma.
Hello, Mr. Yakubu.
Yes, madam.
I can hardly hear what you are saying. If
I
you are
think
still talking, I realize your mic is still on, but I can hardly hear you.
the
If
network
you
is
can
not
hear
good.
me, and
Yeah, I
so
can hear you.
kindly position yourself well.
Okay, okay.
Like there's even feedback in your this thing when you talk. So if you can position yourself well, it will be very good to us. I think this brings us to the end of our unit 4. Or do we have any question? Can you hear me? Do we have any question?
No, madam.
Madam, please, I have a question.
All right.
Madam, please, I beg you, can you please please go to can you please go to with the classifications for me? I don't really understand that part with the values, the instructive values and the absolute values and the relative values.
Okay, please, we did that today. When did we do that one? So that I will know which unit it is.
Please, it's in unit 3.
Okay. Please, where exactly?
Please, about the definitions of the values, the classifications of inputs.
Okay.
Madam,
Where
please,
we have is it we
the
have
demand.
definition of values
Yes, please. The
and
definition of
sources.
the demands,
Okay.
the resources, definition of value, sources of values.
So what exactly you said what? So what exactly were you asking?
About the values, I don't understand about the absolute values, the relative values, the intrinsic and the restrictive values.
Okay, so in that case, you are talking about the classifications and categories of values. Is that it?
Yes, yes, please.
Okay. Please, when we say something is intrinsic, do we please understand? Intrinsic or extrinsic in nature. Do we understand when we say something is intrinsic? Or how do we understand it? Hello? Hello?
Hi. Hello, madam.
I'm asking a question. I said when we say something is intrinsic or extrinsic in nature, do we understand it? How do we understand it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please, madam, with the intrinsic, it is internal. That's from you, inside. Then with the extrinsic or the external, it is from the external environment. That's outside the outside of you or outside. That's the environment. That's the external.
Okay. So I think Madam Sari will take it from there, right?
Yes, please.
So you are saying that
Yes,
these
madam.
are related to the importance. Should I take it from there? From where?
Yes, please.
You said they are related to the importance of something for its own sake. That's the intrinsic value or internally motivated. And he said this is the desirable and self-sufficient quality often experienced. So for instance, he said having a neat appearance or a beautiful surroundings or the joy of seeing a child grow is internally motivated. Honestly, I don't know what exactly you want me to explain. Or you
Madam,
just want me to go over the whole thing, that side.
I didn't understand the value, so I wanted you to go over again for me.
You didn't understand the values.
Yes, please.
And Sally, please, when we say values, we are talking about those things that, should I say, we cherish most.
Okay.
And we are saying that those things that we cherish most, we have some that are internally, within us internally, and then some that are, should I say, motivated externally. And from what we have been looking at, he said the external motivations or things that motivate us externally, he said it means it's a means of attaining a higher value, or they depend on the role the value is playing. That is what is being performed that helps the individual to attain his or her value. So for instance, if one has efficiency as her value, this quality can be used to improve the results of an activity. So if you value efficiency, for instance, that value can be used to improve on whatever results or outcome you are expecting of an activity. And then in general, he said,
Hello.
hello,
Yeah, madam.
sorry, I was attending to something, sorry. Please, a minute. Sorry for the interruption. So, as I was saying, when we say absolute values, we are saying that the conditions that we are saying that the unrelated, it means that they are unrelated to prevailing conditions or absolute values that is absolute when they do not depend on external conditions. So one will ask, what external conditions? These are firmly held and unchanging meanings that interact what is of wealth in situations regardless of its surrounding factors. So that is an absolute value. And then the relative value, we say these on the other hand are meanings that depend on the context for interpretations of what is desirable. And they are more open to alternatives that make decision making more complex. Okay, the more relative values a person has, the broader the managerial potential. The more relative values one has, the broader the managerial potentials. And again, we have the specific values and then general values. We said the specific values are fulfilled in achieving a single goal or by a single action. Specific values, they are fulfilled in achieving a single goal or by achieving a single action. Achieving a single goal or by a single action. And then the general values, we said, for example, when you have health, you say health could be achieved through good nutrition or cleanliness and exercise. That's a general value. When one eats well and then tidy up or lives in a clean environment or does exercising, he said, can lead to or one can achieve good health. Can anyone also help Madam Sally for me? I don't know whether you've gotten what the little I was able to tell you.
Madam, please, yes, I've gotten it. Thank you.
Please, any other question? Is any other thing? If there are nothing then to be discussed again, then I think we'll close docket on this.
Okay, madam.
I think we are done on this one.
Yes, madam.
So is the family the first course that we'll have more to, or we have some of the content we need to cover. I think the course rep sent me a message. That will be okay by me. So we said we day. I remember saying Saturday also.
We were thinking that maybe we wouldn't be able to finish this one too.
Or this
That's
one
why
we
we
are
added the Saturday.
we're not having much to cover. It's the
Yeah,
other one.
so
It
so
was
I
this
think the
the
2 days.
other one where we have much to cover. But this one we were not having so much to cover.
Okay, so since we are done with this one, I think the 2 days will be okay.
Okay, so that will be every day.
The
So
Thursday and Friday.
Friday. Okay. I will. All right.
Okay, madam.
Thank you.
You are always welcome.
So have a wonderful evening.
All right, same to you.
Same to you, madam.
But Madam Coswell, please, I was asking you to kindly remind me when
Yes, please, I will do that.
anything.
I will do that.
Kindly remind me, okay? Thank you very much. All right.
Yes, please.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye, madam.
Bye.
Bye.
And I was super.